Good day to my fellow BS Psychology 2B blackmates, as well as to our professor, Miss Morales. After knowing more about existential theory, now we will dig deeper into a theory that is always crucial in the world of psychology, dispositional theory. But first, here's my fellow discussant, Mr. Jeremy Ramos, who will introduce you to the main character behind this theory and will also discuss some of the approaches regarding personality theory. Next is Ms. Faith Soledad, who will talk you through about traits and factory theory and other information concerning the topic of traits. And I, Naomi Ribon, will tackle biographies of other celebrities of these theories and also will recapitulate the dimensions in the concept of humanities and how it is connected with our topic, which is dispositional theory. Here's the outline of our topic so that you can follow. Now, without a further ado, let's hear Mr. Ramos.
So, good day everyone. I'm Jeremy Ramos. So, I will be discussing about Gordon Allport's theory. First is the biography of Gordon Allport, overview of Allport's psychology of the individual, Allport's approach to personality theory. So, if you don't know Gordon Allport, Gordon Allport was born in 1897 and he died in 1967. So, he is an American psychologist known for his work on studying the personality. Siya ang nag-develop ng trait theory of personality and he shows the importance of knowing the individual traits o katangian na humuhubog sa pagkatao ng isang tao. He played a crucial role in shaping modern psychological thought. So, his father is a physician and ang kanyang mother naman ay isang former school teacher. And he majored in philosophy and economics before shifting to psychology after he met Freud. He completed his education at Harvard University, earning his PhD in psychology in 1922. So moving on, we're going to talk about his overview of Allport's psychology of the individual. So, in his overview, he emphasized the uniqueness of individual. So, ano nga ba ibig sabihin niya rito? For example, yung extroversion ko is mababa. And yun sa other individual naman is mababa rin. Pero it doesn't mean that we have the same level of extroversion. So, para mas maging malinaw, extroversion is napapaloob dyan yung sociability, talkativeness, assertiveness, and excitability. Na kunyari, kasama ko yung mga close friend ko. Tumataas yung level ng aking sociability, nagiging madaldal ako, which is yung talkativeness, while itong other individual naman, kahit na kasama niya yung close friends niya, same situation, di ba? So, still, mababa pa rin yung sociability niya and tahimik pa rin siya sa mga kaibigan niya. That's how our individuality became unique on our own based on Allport's theory. So, doon niya binis yun. So, in morphogenic science, studying one's individual as opposed to attempting to make a theory that applies to the general population. He didn't attempt to do a general study about personality, thus, he focused on the individuals. Since hindi siya nag-attempt, tama naman kasi hindi talaga maganda na i-generalize natin yung mga bagay na pagtukoy sa personality. Because he said that each individuals are different and sobrang hirap naman kasi talaga explain ng buo yung overall, which is yung sangkatauhan. Allport's synthesized all of the other theories that already existed before him. So, yung mga dating study, which makes him more eclectic. Or ano nga ba yung eclectic? Mas all around siya. Ginamit niya lahat ng mga nauna sa kanya na mga studies since science is like standing on shoulders of the giant. So, kunyari, si Einstein, ang giant niya is si Isaac Newton. So, yung mga existing study na ginawa ni Mr. Newton is in-expand ni Einstein. So, nag-build upon siya sa knowledge ni Newton. So, same ito sa ginawa ni Allport's. Moving on to Allport's approach to personality theory. In comparison to other approach, for example si Freud, more philosophical, like mga question tulad ng what motivates people, are people bad, are people good, is more like general siya. Ang daming pasikot-sikot, deep and philosophical. Unlike kay Alport, ang approach na is which is more practical, concise, and very easy to understand. So, Alport's approach to personality is best known for its focus on traits, which he defines as consistent pattern of behavior, thoughts, and emotion. He categorized traits into 3 levels: cardinal traits, central traits, and yung secondary traits. So, tatlo yan. Sa cardinal traits is, these are dominant traits that define a person's entire personality. They are rare, but when present, they influence nearly every aspect of an individual's life. So, for example, a person with a cardinal trait of altruism might be driven by a strong desire to help others in all situations. So, sa central trait naman, these are general characteristics found to some degree in every person. They form the basic foundation of personality. Example, include traits like honesty, kindness, and assertiveness. So, these traits are less dominant than cardinal trait, but are still significant, and we can observe, nakita natin siya in daily observation, daily interaction. And lastly, sa secondary traits, these are more situational and less consistent. Like, parang choice siya. They may only appear in certain circumstances or under specific condition. For instances, someone might be generally calm but can become very anxious during public speaking. So, hindi talaga natin siya basta-basta nakikita. Like, it depends on the situation of the person. At ito naman yung kanyang mga in-emphasize pa, mga kanyang pinaliwanag, which is the individuality and uniqueness. One of Alport's key contribution in his emphasis on the uniqueness of each individual, he argued that every person has a unique combination of traits that make up their personality. So this perspective challenged the idea that people can be easily categorized into a few broad types. Instead, Alport's believe in the complexity and individuality of human beings. And yung next naman is yung functional autonomy. So, another important concept na inintroduced by Alport's in functional autonomy. He suggests that behaviors initially motivated by basic needs or drives can become independent of those original motives. And for example, a person might start working hard to earn money, but later continue to working hard because they find the work itself fulfilling. So, ayun nga, nag-start siya sa motive na ayun yung rason niya bakit siya nag-work, 'di ba? Pero since nagustuhan niya mga ginagawa niya, it turns to be his passion, 'di ba? Kaya nagbago yung kanyang objective, nagbago yung kanyang reason into working hard. And next is yung impact and legacy. Alport's theory have had a lasting impact on the field of psychology. So his work laid the groundwork for later trait theories na i-explain mamaya. So including the widely accepted Big 5 personality traits. Moreover, his emphasis on the uniqueness of individuals has been influenced both research and clinical practice in psychology. And that's also, I will be calling Miss Ribbon for reporting the next topic.
Okay. Again, I am Miss Ribot. With the aforementioned informations that you have gained earlier, let us now talk about those other celebrities for dispositional theories. Next topic would be the biographies of Eysenck, McRae, and Costa. First, we have Eysenck. Eysenck. Hans-Jürgen Eysenck is a German-British theorist. Why? Because he was born in Germany but later grew up and worked in London. He was born in Berlin, Germany on April 4, 1916, and died in London of United Kingdom on September 4, 1997. He was known as a controversial figure because he was very vocal with his criticism and even wrote about personality, psychoanalysis, psychotherapy, and even to some personality theories like Cattell and the 16 personality factors. He assumed that personality is based on biology, which is viewed as deterministic. And to analyze his factor, he used the nomothetic approach, which is an approach to try or to generalize most, if not all, of the commonalities in the personality of the people. With his assumption, he had the three factor theory. This theory is composed of two levels for the personality structure. We had the super factors, which was the highest level. It is the personality that all of the people possess, while the lowest level is trait or individual differences. This topic would be much elaborated by the next report, so I will not elaborate it for next. Personality we have is Robert McRae. Moving on with McRae, this personality, together with the next, is also an integral part of the dispositional theories. Robert Roger McRae was born in Maryville, Missouri. He is a personality psychologist. He was born on April 28, 1949, aging 75. He's still active because of his contribution in some recent psychology publications. He earned his PhD in personality psychology in 1976 and became affiliated with National Institute on Aging. He studies the stability of personality across age and culture. Just like what I stated earlier, he, together with the next personality, is an integral part of dispositional theories because this model, the five factor model or the ocean, will be further elaborated by the next topic. Next, we have Paul Costa Jr., who was born in New Franklin, Hampshire on September 16, 1942. He is an American psychologist. His background in education is that he had his PhD in psychology in 1970 at University of Chicago. He was taught at Harvard before moving to the National Institute on Aging where he met McRae, also known to contribute to the five-factor model, which was the five core of the personality traits. So to further elaborate what was the five-factor model, the super factors, and many more elements about traits, here's Miss Soledad.
Thank you so much, Miss Naomi Ribbon. Now, let's proceed with our next topic, which is the traits and factor theory. So, let's start by defining what is trait nga ba. Okay, traits are our habitual patterns of behavior, thoughts, and emotions which are relatively stable over time. So, basically, ito yung mga ugali natin as a person. Ito yung mga patterns na ginagawa natin, ito yung mga palagi natin ginagawa, and so on and so forth. So, paano nga ba natin malalaman kung ilan yung personality na meron ng isang tao? So, ayon sa ginawa ni Gordon Allport, tumingin siya sa iba't ibang dictionary at nakakuha siya ng 18,000 words na pwedeng maging personal dispositions ng personality ng isang tao. However, itong 18,000 words na to can either exist or cannot exist sa ibang tao. So, yung mga sumusunod na theories kay Gordon is ang naging thinking nila, paano natin i-generalize yung theory na to sa general population. So, ang isa sa mga theories na pumasa or lumaban sa challenge na ito ni Gordon Allport is si Raymond Cattell. Dito, ginaya ni Raymond Cattell yung approach ni Gordon Allport kung saan naghanap siya ng mga words din na pwedeng mag-describe sa traits ng isang tao. So, tinry niya yung mga nakolect niyang words and yung 1,000 adjectives na yun na pwede mag-describe sa traits ng isang tao ay kinonvert niya into questions. And itong questions na to, sa pag-convert niya ng 1,000 words na yun into questions, nakabuo siya ng 171 items. And these questions, pinasagot niya sa iba't ibang tao. So basically, kumuha siya ng data from other people describing another person. Gumawa rin siya ng mga self-report na kung saan tinanong niya, does this describe you or does this not describe you? So yung mga so meron tayong self-report and report from other party. So dahil doon, na-realize niya na sa 171 na items na yon ay may 16 clusters na tinatawag nating personality factors. So, ayon kay Cattell, meron daw 16 personality factors or 16 common traits ang isang tao base doon sa data na nakolek niya. Ang tawag naman sa factor analysis na ginamit ni Cattell is yung exploratory factor analysis or EFA. So ito from data to theory. So kumbaga tinitingnan niya yung mga pattern na meron ng isang data na nakolek niya. So doon mas nag-e-explore pa siya lalo. Kaya tinawag siyang exploratory factor analysis. And ayun nga sa mga data na nakolek niya, merong 16 personality factors na naka-display dito sa ating screen. Itong 16 personality factor naman is very self-explanatory. So, ayun. Ngayon naman ay papasok dito yung isa pang theorist na si Hans Eysenck. So, katulad ni Cattell, mas prefer din ni Hans Eysenck yung mga bagay na very observable sa real world. What do I mean by that? Siyempre, yung mga bagay na madali nating ma-observe. And isa na rito is yung behavior ng isang tao. Diba? Siyempre, very observable yung behavior na meron tayo. And even though they are both empiricists, magkaiba naman yung approach na ginamit nila sa pag-collect ng data. So, kung si Raymond Cattell ang ginamit niya is yung exploratory factor analysis, si Hans Eysenck naman ay gumamit ng confirmatory factor analysis. So, itong confirmatory factor analysis, dito gagawa ka muna ng theory and then yung theory na ito is iti-test mo doon sa data. Kaya siya from theory to data. Following that logic, si Hans Eysenck ay gumawa rin ng sarili niyang trait theory na kung saan nag-propose siya ng 3 trait personality factors na nag-e-exist sa isang tao. And yung mga traits na yon is yung tinatawag nating neuroticism, extroversion, and psychoticism. Itong 3 traits, 3 personality traits or factors is tinatawag din siyang dimensions of personality. So, itong mga traits na to bipolar siya. Kumbaga, meaning meron siyang highest and lowest. Kagaya nga na nabanggit ni Miss Nami Ribbon kanina. So, para siyang sliding scale. So, it's either in a highest or in a lowest. For example, highest yung meron kang mababang extroversion and may mataas naman yung extroversion. So, in neuroticism, the other end ng scale is yung tinatawag nating stability. What do I mean by stability? Kumbaga, stable yung emotional preference ng isang tao. So, kung mababa yung neuroticism mo, mas stable ka. Pero kung mataas yung neuroticism mo, mas malaki ang possibility na meron kang emotional stability, instability, do you mean? So, sa psychoticism, sa extroversion nga, kagaya na nabanggit ko, di ba? Pag extroversion ka, pag mataas yung extroversion mo, more on extroverted kang tao. Kagaya na nabanggit ni Mr. Jeremy Ramos, very talkative ka, energetic, ganon, sociable. So, ayun siya. And kung low naman yung extroversion na meron ka, of course, ano naman siya, parang kabaliktaran naman. Kaya meron tayong natawag na introversion. So, possible, very introverted kang tao. So, sa psychotism naman, yung kanyang other side is sociability or super ego function. So, kung mataas yung psychoticism ng isang tao, mataas yung tendency na hindi siya makipaghalubilo sa ibang tao na maayos. Or worse, may tendency na magkaroon siya ng psychotic behavior kasi iba na yung reality niya. And kung mababa naman yung psychoticism ng isang tao, mataas yung chances na pwede siyang makipaghalubilo ng maayos. Ganon. So, itong 3 personality factor na ito ni Einstein ay pasok sa 4 na criteria na sinet niya para masabi na yung personality factor na ginawa niya is very legitimate. Okay, thank you. So, yung unang criteria niya is dapat may psychometric soundness or ibig sabihin, dapat consistent. Pangalawa, yung mga factors na to is pwedeng mamana, ganon. Kumbaga, genetic siya, very heritability or biological basis. And ang third naman dapat is it must theoretically make sense. And last, dapat yung personality factors na to can predict social phenomenon like psychotic behavior, ganon, drug use. So, kapag daw na-satisfy yung 4 na criteria na to, ibig sabihin, yung mga factors na na-detect ng factor analysis is very legit. Ano? Now, let's proceed with the Big 5 factor theory. Okay, so basically, hindi naman sina Paul Costa and Robert McCrae ang nakadiscover ng Big 5 factor theory. Kumbaga, parang mas nakilala lang sila kasi, sila yung nag-expand ng theory na to. Ginawa nila itong full-blown theory from taxonomy lang. So later, explain ko kung ano nga ba yung taxonomy. So, ano nga ba yung Big 5 factor theory na to? Kasama na sa 5 factors na to yung 3 traits na pinopose ni Hans Eysenck, which are the neuroticism, extroversion, and yung psychoticism. Pero syempre, meron silang pagkakaiba. Sa psychoticism, kina Paul Costa and McCrae, ang ginawa nila is in-split nila ito into 3 parts. Ito yung openness to experience, agreeableness, and consensuousness. So yung neuroticism and extroversion is same lang siya sa concept ni Hans Eysenck. So yung openness to experience, ito yung kung paano ka maging open as a person. I mean, kung open ka sa mga bagong ideas, opinions, gano'n. So, meaning, kung mas mataas yung openness to experience mo, may tendency na maging weird ka. I mean, syempre, mataas yung mas open ka sa maraming experience. So, may tendency na magkaroon ng negative yun. Then, yung agreeableness naman is kung mas mataas yung taong meron nito, mataas din yung tendency na marunong siya makisama. Siyempre, di ba, for example, sa agreeableness, hindi naman siya yung may tendency na agree na lang ng agree. So, with that kasi, parang mas magaling siyang makisama sa ibang tao. So, kung mababa naman yung agreeableness mo, of course, kabaliktaran naman yan nagiging outcome nun. And dito sa Philippines, most of the Filipinos, or lahat naman tayo, very high talaga yung agreeableness na meron tayo as a person. And next naman is yung conscientiousness. Conscientiousness, ito yung self-discipline na meron tayo. Kumbaga, ito yung pagpipigil natin sa mga impulses natin, knowing most of us very impulsive talaga when it comes in decision making, di ba? So, ibig sabihin, kung mataas yung conscientiousness mo, mataas yung self-discipline na meron ka. So, kaya mong i-deny dito yung mga instantaneous gratifications for a long-term bigger reward. So, what do I mean with instantaneous gratifications? Ito yung mga impulsive decisions na meron tayo for instant satisfaction lang. Yung mga mabilis lang mawala din. Ganun. So, okay. So, as I mentioned kanina, di ba? Sabi ko nga, sina Costa and McCrae, hindi sila yung nakadiscover ng Big Five Factor Theory. Kumbaga sila lang yung nag-expand ng theory na to from taxonomy into full-blown theory. So, ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng taxonomy? It is a practice and science concerned with classifications or categorization. So, it's just a way of grouping certain kinds of things. Like, in this case, yung mga traits, like, di ba, meron tayong big five or yung traits ng isang tao. So, kinakategorize lang niya yon. Pero, hindi niya talaga na-explain kung ano ba yung behavior na yun, kung ano yung thoughts na yun, kung saan yun nanggaling. Ganon. So, it's just categorization. Ganon lang siya. Pero since sila Costa and McRae, ginawa nila tong full-blown theory to explain furthermore about that behavior. So, with that, the critic of trait and factor theories, let's proceed with that. The good thing about them is they are very scientific standard. So, for example, it can generate research. Diba? Check tayo doon. The next one is the falsifiability is high. Because, for example, pinatest mo yung personality mo as an extroversion and then hindi siya lumitaw as extroverted. So, dito, pero, in reality, nakikita mo naman talaga na extroverted siya. Diba? So, doon pa lang, nagkakaroon na tayo ng falsifiability. Kasi, our behavior is very observable. So, kung sa test is iba yung lumalabas na result sa talagang nakikita mo, personally, talagang magkakaroon tayo ng falsifiability. And next is to guide to action. It's actually not really giving. However, on the internal consistent is a yes. And for the parsimony, of course, it's very simple. So, it's a yes then. So, that would be all for my topic. I will now give the floor again to Ms. Naomi Ribbon to further discuss the dimensions of concept of humanity.
Now on to our last topic, the dimensions in the concept of humanity. As far as I believe, this topic was already tackled, but I will just give you a recap. First dimension would be determinism versus free choice. Determinism, it is beyond our control. It is unpredictable. Determinism states that actions or behaviors of an individual is influenced by their childhood and environment. While the opposite of this one would be free choice. Free choice is the self-determination, and according to free choice, human has the capacity to choose or is responsible of his action. Next dimension would be pessimism versus optimism. Pessimism, it is usually determinism. It views humanity negatively. It assumes troubles and conflicts. On the other hand, optimism, which is a free choice, while pessimism views the human negatively, this is opposite. Optimism views humans positively, and the result of being optimistic is that an individual becomes psychologically healthy. Third dimension would be conscious versus unconscious. When we say conscious and unconscious, it is obviously the meaning of it, layman's term. Conscious means aware of behavior, while unconscious means unaware of their behavior. Next dimension, causality versus teleology. For causality, behavior, it is no. The action or the behavior of an individual is because of the past, while in teleology, behavior of an individual is because of the future perspectives like goals or dreams. Next dimension would be biological versus social influence. Again, when we say biological, it is genetic or hereditary, and it is nature. While in social influence, it is environmental, also it is nurture. You might be wondering what is the connection of these dimensions to the dispositional, right? Then here's the last dimension. We have uniqueness and similarities. Uniqueness. When we say uniqueness, it means individual or idiographic. When we say idiographic, comes from the word ideo rather. It is the Greek word, means owned. So for uniqueness, it is the owned characteristics of an individual, while on the similarities, it is the common characteristics. Nomothetic. Nomothetic, it is an approach that I discussed earlier, an approach to generalize the commonalities or the personalities of most of the people. We, group 14, hope that you have gained more insights or knowledge with the video we prepared today. That would be all for the dispositional theories. Thank you and have a good day.